there's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today.
I don't know how they did it. Seriously. I'm just gonna try and get through the next 5 miles. That's it. The next 5 miles. I can do 5 miles. The guy at 7-Eleven gave me a free Gatorade.
Really?
Because he saw I was so thirsty.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. It was right. It's almost done.
8.3 more miles.
Oh my gosh.
What? You're gonna walk from Maryland to Canada? I mean, I just couldn't even get my mind around doing such a thing.
So I got an early start this morning, somewhere around 4:30. And what's coming to me this morning is that I want to live my life fucking on purpose. I want to live my life on purpose.
I'm Metra Lundy, and I will be walking from the eastern shores of Maryland to ultimately St. Catharines, Canada, in honor of Harriet Tubman.
Yep, Metra would do this. Metra would do this, and Metra could do this, more importantly.
Since I have been very, very small, I've been drawn to the story and legacy of the great American heroine, Harriet Tubman. And so wherever there is a historic site or information about her, or a mural, or a museum, I am there. I find my way there because I find her to be such a rich and strong human being that was here, that gave us so many gifts of how to live our lives with power and perseverance.
I guess the first story that comes to mind is when we went to go see Harriet's house.
How did you feel about that?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, well, okay. I was probably like 11 years old, so...
How'd you feel about the Tubman house?
It's pretty cool, I guess. They still have it and stuff.
How do you feel about it being a historical site?
I mean...
Think any of your friends would like to visit it? Think they would care?
I think they probably feel the same way as I do.
Which is? Do you think it's important for your friends and people, brown kids, to visit the Harriet Tubman house, or not so much?
Sure, so they know about the history and stuff.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So specifically African culture and African American culture, I think that that's something that has been instilled within us since I was born, since I was young.
Then I went out, just me alone, and brought me a chocolate ice cream cone.
Myself, Metra, and my younger brother all went to an African school. We were definitely taught early on about history. So that was important. My mother and father actually talked about that in the house. So that's something that we definitely grew up with.
And where'd you learn that song anyway? Florine. Oh, so she used to sing it to you.
Metra is interesting. I should say it none the least. She's always the one who is very energetic in the family and always wants us to kind of do stuff, right? So it's like, okay, what are we doing today? Are we going out to eat? No, we're not. We're going to maybe go climb a hill or something to that notion.
And a big part of the reason, and I don't think it's like spoken about in books, because they just tell you like Harriet Tubman was this woman and she helped free slaves, but they don't tell you the reason that she did it. And she kept going back because she wanted her family to be free.
Harriet Tubman is my #1 shero. I love, love, love her. As a matter of fact, in my office when I first met Metra, I had a picture of Harriet Tubman on my computer. Harriet Tubman has always been revered by me, not only for her strength, her bravery, her strategy, all that she embodies. But what I loved about her story and her plight was that she was one of our sheroes that was never, ever, ever caught. She was able to execute her missions again and again and again and lived to a ripe old age and was never, ever captured or killed. That was significant.
I just found a parallel, and like here she was, a woman, she and her family, way back in the 1800s, whose family lifestyle was grounded in knowing the Creator, being close with your family, working hard, building community, and that we still represent that thing today. This idea of like oral tradition came up. Usually we don't write things down. So it dawned on me when I was learning about all this, and I was thinking about the circles that Mommy used to put us in and just like sing to us like, wow, like that was oral tradition.
Making fortunes behind the door. The cops came in and Joe ran out. Uncle Moen began to shout, "Run, Joe! Policeman won't let me go. Run, Joe! Policeman holding me hand. Lord, 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 Lord."
In my life, I've always looked at Harriet Tubman as a brilliant example of what it means to confront the things that are most challenging to you. I chose to do this walk in an effort to simulate what she did, how she used walking as a way in which to help other freedom seekers overcome the challenge of not having basic freedoms. And so while my journey was very different in that I wasn't in any kind of physical bondage, mental and emotional bondages are also things. And so I took on this journey as a way of freeing myself, so to speak. I was in pain, and that pain made me feel like I needed to do something. In the most recent past, she definitely is the woman that I look to help pull me out of that suffering.
When Metra told you what she was going to do this summer, what was your initial honest reaction?
Are you serious? Like, really? You know, like here, you know, just, I was amazed, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And I understood it. I did. I just didn't think that, I didn't think that I had the stamina to actually do it. And I think she actually has all of that plus more.
I have always known my mom to have these really interesting ideas, and she'll bring it up and she'll be so enthusiastic. So of course when she told me, I had to match that enthusiasm, right? And then as she kept on going, it's like, she's really doing this. And then moving forward, this lady is really doing this, you know? So it got more intense. And then once she finished, and then I was just like, wow, left in a state of just astonishment.
The physical part is actually easier for me because it's what I do in my life. I'm a coach. Hey folks, Metra Lundy here, your trainer and coach. Hey folks, Metra Lundy here, your trainer and coach. Hey folks, Metra Lundy here, your trainer and coach. It's more the emotional part and just being connected to what her pain must have been that has been the most challenging thing for me. So.
This journey and Harriet Tubman is very important to Metra because she is a person of action. She doesn't just sit and watch, she does something. In times and situations like these, you'd want to be able to look to someone who you see yourself in And what better example than Harriet, than someone who is responsible for saving people's lives in a time of chaos.
I will walk her steps as a way of paying her respect, but also as a way of just getting a better understanding of who she was and what she must have gone through. That day and time is something that I could never actually feel because I wasn't there, but I want to know her more and I want to understand her more.
Well, I think her story still resonates with everyone today because it's a story of possibility, of having a vision and a clarity of purpose. For her to take that first step off the plantation by herself, talk about faith.
Just thinking about the trials and tribulations that she went through in her life, I think it just pushes me to go further because she had such challenges. She faced such challenges, and so when I encounter the life's challenges, as difficult or easy as I think that they may be at the time, like I'm motivated by her story because it's like if she can do it, I have to do it. I have to do better. I have to do more.
I got an email today from Kate Clifford Larson. She is the author of Bound for the Promised Land, and I sent her an email thanking her for the book and for the maps that she has in the book, guides for me to use on this journey to help me go from Maryland to Canada. Anyway, I had to share this with you because as soon as I got the email, Kim is helping me to figure out all the logistics, the maps, and how we're going to get there and all that. Kim and I have been talking about the actual walk, how we're going to, not just how we're going to walk it, but the route. What's the terrain going to be like?
We knew she went to Jersey, we just didn't know where, but the only thing we knew was Cape May, for sure, because of summer work. But that's way south, so it didn't make sense for how we were walking that we would even include Cape May. So it just made sense to try to stay, Raritan Ave, just down Raritan Ave for as long as possible until there was a turn. So basically as little turns as possible, as straight as possible to George Washington Bridge.
A couple weekends ago, we drove the route that we thought we were going to take. Well, when I reached out to Kate, I gave her an idea of where we were going to start, and she made some suggestions. I suggest start your route at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad byway. The byway in Maryland is 126 miles, and it weaves its way through her birthplace, childhood, where she was a young adult, and later Underground Railroad missions. Well, fast forward, in her second paragraph, she says to me, Tubman traveled from Philadelphia to New York City, where she received help from Sidney Gay, Oliver Johnson, and Louis Napoleon. Okay, that part's fine, totally get it. From there, she took a train to Albany. Now, I had to sit back. Did you hear what I said? Harriet Tubman took a train to Albany.
What was really significant about that was twofold. One was I was completely prepared to walk 600 miles by foot and take the most rugged, rough approach that I possibly could take, right? Because that was just the state that I was in. I was trying to figure some things out and solve some problems. So I was going to walk the way Harriet Tubman walked. But Harriet Tubman was brilliant, right? She was a strategist, and I don't think that when we're taught about her, that she's spoken of in that way. She took many modes of transportation. She took trains, she took wagons, right? She took what was available. So when I got the email from Kate and she explained that you don't have to go 600 miles, I was excited, but I was also a little sad. I was like, here it was, I was thinking one way about Tubman, and it was like, man, I feel like I've been slighted a little bit because she took the more efficient way.
I don't think we think in totality about the entire landscape.
I think we have this very false way of putting things in small boxes, right? So we think Harriet Tubman, we think slave, we think no shoes, we think very little food, we think struggle. We don't think about the landscape that she's growing up in. I'm not done. Okay, so she takes the train to Albany. She gets some more help. Then she goes to Rochester, where Frederick Douglass helps her and others. And then she takes a train to Niagara Falls. So she takes a train twice. Okay, cool. She takes 2 trains. She finally makes her way through Niagara Falls, and then she gets to St. Catharines. We might have to change the route now, right? Because now we're looking at the Underground Railroad byways map, and we weren't looking at that map before. So 600 miles might shift to something else. We need to have
this whole project that she's done is inspirational to everyone, anybody who hears about it. It's like, wow, if people did that literally hundreds and hundreds of miles, I can do that. How can I get stronger physically, mentally? It's just something that makes you reassess what's possible.
We're almost at 404. And across the street from us is a house with the good old Confederate flag waving about.
Even to this day, when I see the Confederate flag on the back of a pickup truck flying from someone's home, it immediately makes my back like literally stand up, because I feel like I have to be on high alert. It lets me know very clearly and succinctly that there's someone who does not believe in my humanity, someone who does not believe that I am equal, and depending on where they are on the spectrum of their belief, they may not even believe that I should be alive. So that's a lot to process when you see that.
So we're in Maryland, and on the right side of the road, there are cars passing. They're moving maybe 10, 15 miles an hour, so they're going pretty slowly. And this truck passes us. It's a white Ford F-150, fairly new. And he passes us, but slows down significantly. When he slows down, he takes his arm, he leans out the window, turns around and looks back at us. He smiles, and I can still see his face right now. And he, clears his throat, or makes a sound with his throat, and he looks us dead in the eye. I see him looking directly at me, and he spits, right? And it's really just like this moment where he wanted to put fear in me. Like, I could see that he was trying to in some way intimidate me. It was scary. It was scary. It was scary that happened in 2019. It was scary that happened in Maryland, which is only 3 hours away from New Jersey. It was scary that he took pleasure in intimidating 2 women who are just walking, not doing anything, just walking. There are many people who don't think that this sort of hatred, racial hatred, exists. And that's a problem, because it is very much alive. And I experienced it. And so I decided to share that part of the journey, that story, because I think it's more important for me to talk about what our current reality is than for me to pretend like it's a non-issue. We can live cohesively when we understand each other's experience. And so my experience was someone tried to be hurtful towards me, to intimidate me because of the way I looked or what I was doing, and that should stop.
How you doing? Working it out. No need to complain. In the meantime, Metra's all the way up there.
All right, so we are about 20 miles into the walk. I feel pretty good. My ultras are working. No pain in my neck, back. I'm hydrated. I'm good.
Sunglasses are helpful for me too.
Now here's the thing. Mother Harriet didn't have
any of those things. And she made it happen. So surely we can get to Dover tonight.
Oh my God. Somewhere around 20 miles, 22 miles, the delirium started to kick in. A little bit woo-hoo and a little bit silly. But I'm making it happen. But in my silliness, so I looked at a post from my coach. He's like, great job, I'm so proud of you. I got a couple of text messages, great job. I'm like, all right, I'm going. But the delirium is still there, right? I'm not a poet, but it definitely came to my head. Metra, get your behind up. You done walk these 30 miles, you can make anything happen. Metra, get your behind up. And true story, anytime I'm doubting that I can do something, I am going to take myself back to this moment right here. And remember, I can do anything. And most of us can.
It's our history. I don't appreciate when people segregate other people, apartheid, American slavery. So I think history is best understood together. We segregate our history the way we segregate ourselves, and you can't understand history till you bring all of the parts together.
Yeah.
And once you understand how everything works all together, kind of like nature, kind of like ecology, cycles, then you can understand everything much better.
Yeah. I actually think that that is the missing piece in how we teach our children, right? Because I grew up in a house that was very aware of history, particularly history of Africans in this country. But I think the missing piece is that you look at it in a capsule.
It's just a piece. It's just a piece here.
Yeah. So
African American history, Native American
Right.
history, Japanese American
Right.
history, Russian American
Right.
history. But everything has to come together. Nothing happens in a vacuum. We've had a lot of people, I lead guided tours through our exhibit halls, and people just start crying. And they're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why are you apologizing? You're learning your history right now in front of me, and that's why I'm here.
We are officially walking out of Maryland. Woohoo!
today I decided to wear a sundress, and I wore the sundress for a couple of reasons. So this particular outfit was made in Ghana, West Africa, when I was traveling there several years ago. It was made in the Ashanti region. And the reason that that is significant is in the book Bound for the Promised Land, in the introduction, it talks about Harriet Tubman and where they believe her family ancestry is. So one of the quotes was that she was being taken care of by one of the older women, and they referred to her as a shanty child.
When I read your book and you were talking about them being from the Gold Coast.
Oh, okay.
And it's so interesting how pieces have been coming together. So about 5 years ago, my cousin comes to me and the rest of the family. So my cousin and I, our mothers are sisters. She says, I did our DNA testing and it turns out that we are Ashanti on the mother's side. So that happening in a capsule. So then when I read your book and I read about Shanty Child, I'm being like guided along. Yeah. It's been over a long period of time, but I feel like that Tubman energy has been like, okay, you did that. Okay, now it's time to do that. Of all the different tribes of people that are in Ghana, there are many. I just happen to be in the presence and drawn in by the family who are also Ashanti. What made you interested? Well, like, why was that even of interest? Were you maybe interested in history, American history, as a youth? Did you just become history? Did you see something?
Mm-hmm. I always enjoyed history, raised in a family that loved history. And when I went to college, I double majored in history and economics. And then I got to a point where I wasn't super happy with my job, even though I had a great boss. It just was like, you know, when I'm 60, is this what I want to be doing? Going to meetings, and I might be the expert at the table, but I was always asked to take the notes or something like that. So I decided I wanted to go back to, I went to Simmons undergrad, that I would go back to school and get a degree in women's history, and then maybe I would teach. So when I went back to Simmons, there was a professor who who was still teaching there, who I adored when I was an undergraduate in the 70s, and he was teaching a class in African American history. And at the same time, my daughter was 7 years old, and she was in second grade, and in Massachusetts they start introducing these biographies of great heroes to children, and she brought home a book about Harriet Tubman, and I'm reading it with her, and I was familiar with Tubman, but not super, just like vaguely. Yeah. And I thought, gee, this woman's so amazing, so I went to the library, and there were 2 19th century biographies and one written in 1943. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. She's pretty famous.
Right.
And so I went to my professor, and I said, is this true? And he's like, that can't be true. And sure enough, that was true.
Wow.
And one of them said to me, you got to get down the Eastern Shore. You got to see where she lived.
Wow.
You have to see that water and those marshes and those trees, and you've got to smell it, and you've got to talk to people. That was a gift to me that he said I had to come here.
Tubman began working with her father.
She has so much to offer us, and she represents so much.
It allows us to come to the same table and like talk about
family, freedom, faith, community. We all, no matter which part of the spectrum you're on, whatever spectrum, we all have that in common.
Exactly.
And that's what she fought for every single day. So why can't we, celebrate her, use her as a model and a guide?
I'm about to lose my whole toenail on my right foot. I don't know. I never lost a toenail from walking. These are brand new socks, never worn. Yo!
Yeah.
Like, this is embarrassing. It looks like I don't know how to wash my clothes or something. I've never worn these. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna take my sock off tonight. My toenail's gonna come off in the sock.
So we seriously need to walk another 20 miles, right?
At least.
And that actually will not get us where we need to be.
It'll get us halfway there.
So it's 2:28, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. 7:30 will get us 20 miles more. And then 7:30 we should walk until at least 9. So maybe that's the game plan, 30 miles, 35 miles tonight.
I feel it.
I feel it. Other than that, I feel my mind. It's a mind game. Just keep going. That's all I keep remembering. Go.
We've completed a ton of miles, but there's a ton of miles to go. I'm looking at the time, and I'm looking at where we are, and I'm feeling this mix of like frustration and anxiety and sadness and maybe even a little bit of like anger that we aren't gonna accomplish what we set out to do, and that there was this pull in me that I needed to do it. I needed to do it, and that if I didn't finish the mileage for that day or for that entire segment of the journey, that somehow I would have failed.
Those last 10 miles were for real. It took us 3 hours. I was walking on the grass to sort of make it all a little bit uneven so I'm not striking the same spot every time. But yeah, that was for real. And it's getting ready to rain.
Oh, get in the car. Get in the car. Oh my God. Please get in the car. Oh, jeez. What is this timing?
Oh,
goodness.
Listen. Somebody was watching out. I'm just saying, waited right until we got to the car.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, ancestors. Kim, I'm trying to get out. It's 6 o'clock.
I'm coming.
It's worse when you stop moving.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna get to where we needed to get. I was completely prepared to walk until 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Like, it didn't matter to me. I was willing to do it, but I wasn't doing it alone. She and I were together. And so there was this struggle with me wanting to just completely go all in and do whatever I needed to do, but also being mindful that I'm not here by myself.
So I got an early start this morning, somewhere around 4:30. Got to the road, was up by about 3:15, and what's coming to me this morning is that I want to live my life fucking on purpose. I want to live my life on purpose. All of the examples in my life, including Harriet Tubman, they've lived their lives on purpose. So coming out of these miles, that is what I am affirming, on purpose. Day 3, we started at, got up at 3:15 out of the hotel. Shh, I'm delirious.
Oh no.
I've already gone 10 miles. This is what happens at 10 miles. You just start pouring things. Pretty much just ran 13. We're behind schedule, so we're gonna have to extend a day and hit 42 miles a day. So basically my mind is just fixated on how I'm gonna pace and meet the timing demands. You go through all kinds of emotions when you are on the road by yourself in what felt like the middle of the night. You know how you talk about when people are grieving, they are like happy and sad and angry and depressed, and right, you have all those emotions on the road. Moments of clarity, for sure. I feel like I'm a little less tolerant. Got a couple things to say to a couple people when I get back. Hope that's not delirious. Might be.
Wait, did you explain why Kim is not here?
I am riding solo, walking solo, jogging solo. For reasons outside of my control. Onward. So when I was running, a bird was over my head. And I was like trying to get away from it. But for a solid, I would say 30 seconds, it was just like right over me, right over me.
Mm.
That cat was looking right at me, like in my face.
Yeah.
Like walked up to the car. What was that?
They're trying to tell you something.
That cat looked me dead in the eye and just stood there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. Trying to make a friend.
Somebody's trying to tell me something. I don't know. Okay, I'm going.
Okay.
We're going together.
It was as if the cat was seeing me off. The bird was black in color. The cat was white in color. They both stuck with me for some portion of time that felt like abnormal. And it just felt like the universe was saying I wasn't alone.
She left.
I'm almost at about 25 miles for today. It's just about 11 o'clock. And Yo, with all these miles in front of me, you have to be relentless. Like, there's no other option. There's no other option. I don't know if I ever answered the question why I'm doing this. There are multiple reasons, but I think that the primary reason is that the work that Harriet Tubman did is not that far different than the work that we do today. She cared about a cause, and she worked to make those causes better. She was active. When you care about a cause, I don't care if it's 1836, 1849, or 2019, you must take action. And so me being out here is a representation of her legacy, that action is needed, especially for our young people. I think they're so distracted with life that they're not as active as they could be. So I am out here walking to raise awareness that action is required. I hope to be an inspiration and sort of motivation. You'll see me and you'll do something different in your life. You'll move more. You'll talk about Harriet Tubman more. You'll take action in your community. You'll work towards making yourself better. Whatever your thing is, action is required. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I think when I've spoken about this before, I'm always a little bit hesitant, because sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. A lot of Africans were brought to this country not by their own will. Many of them died in the waters coming here. Either they were killed or they killed themselves by throwing themselves over. At the time, I remember reading in Bound for the Promised Land, one of the generals saying, nobody here, no white man is fit to do this work. So the only people that can do this is Africans. And so they would bring Africans straight off the boat and send them to work in the canal, which was basically their cemetery. They died without ever being recognized. And so I am wanting to help them rest, right? It's okay. We see you, we recognize you, we stand on your shoulders. Many African Americans in this country, we stand on the shoulders of those Africans who were here and who died so that we can walk about freely. And so, if not for them, we wouldn't be here. So every step that I take, I hope to allow for peace to be amongst their souls anywhere in this area and beyond. So it's going good.
She's not stopping. Last 2 miles of the day.
And that's all I have to say about that. You know what I was thinking? Man, this walk is one thing, but doing it while you're hungry, like that is on a whole nother level. Like, I couldn't imagine doing this hungry, sick, crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, okay. I am so close to the Pennsylvania border. And the story goes that when Harriet Tubman crossed over into Philadelphia, into Pennsylvania, she was so excited, she was so happy that she was stepping on free soil. But she was also extremely sad because she was alone and there was no one there to greet her. And I'm sitting in that this morning as I am so closely approaching the Pennsylvania border. Can you see it? Can you see it? I am doing happy dance. I am doing the happy dance. Behind me is a sign. I'm gonna get closer. It's a sign. It says, "Welcome to Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania." Pennsylvania. I just crossed over into Pennsylvania. Let's see it. Here's the sign. Sun's in the way, but I promise you it's there.
I made it, y'all. I made it.
I wore this bracelet. My mother gave me this bracelet when I was like a teenager. Maybe I was 13. I decided I wanted her to be with me on the walk. And then I wore this ring. It has a symbol of life in it. I got this ring when I did a program, like a leadership program for women, Sacred Woman Global Village, rites of passage. A good friend, mentor, dance partner gave me these cowrie shells, and at one time in ancient African practice, cowrie shells were money, and so I wanted to make sure that I brought that with me for like prosperity, but also to have this symbol. And it's much. I'm so happy to see you. I think you should give me a hug.
You made it.
Oh my God! I'm
You
almost at
made
20
it.
miles. 1932. And my legs say, yes, that's exactly what they say. Baba Booey, or something similar to that. It's time to eat. And therefore, I am going to say a prayer. I'm so much more grateful for every bite, every step, every thought, everything. Divine Creator, we come before you with bowed heads and humble hearts. We are so grateful for this sandwich right here. That is an everything bagel with salmon, lettuce, and tomato, and cream cheese on the side. I am so happy to be indulging in this nourishment. We are so grateful. Thank you. Amen, Amen, Ashe, and all the other words that are appropriate. It's like heaven. It's like heaven in my mouth. Oh my God. Okay.
Let the record show this is the first meal she's had in like 2 or 3 days.
Besides peanut butter and honey.
When you're walking so many hours, one, you don't want to stop to eat because it takes too long. We had mileage to cover. Two, you need the momentum of just continuing. If you stop, then all the muscles feel like they get cold and it makes it that much harder to keep going. Three, peanut butter and bread, carb and protein combination is great for helping to sustain energy long term. So for 4 days, I only ate peanut butter and honey. So by the time I sat down and had that very delicious bagel with salmon on it, it was like heaven in my mouth.
Independence Hall, just a block or so away, where Congress decided, hey, Black people should only be considered 3/5 person in comparison to whites. Also, the place where the Fugitive Slave Act was signed by Congress saying that those slaves who ran away from their slave masters should be captured and sent back.
The Fugitive Slave Act was pivotal because it changed the whole landscape of what freedom meant and what it would take to really be free. So it took a journey that was 90 to 100 miles. If you can get to Philly, you were okay. Now, with this new Slave Act, now it requires you to take a journey of 500 miles. Anytime your humanity has to be legislated and debated based on your race, right? Based on your race, that right there is the definition of being racist. So 3/5 in our legal document, the Constitution, we are a fraction of a person, a fraction of a person. The 13th Amendment, the abolishment of slavery, had to be legislated. The 14th Amendment, your citizenship, had to be legislated. The 15th Amendment, the right to vote to African American men, not women, to African American, had to be legislated. But here we are, fast forward to 2020, and these, what you would think are basic non-negotiable concepts at this time are still debatable. Our right to humanity and personhood, Black Lives Matter. Voting rights, disenfranchisement, still very much an issue in 2020. So when you look at the legislation and the root of all that we're still experiencing today, starts there.
Independence Hall, y'all. We have arrived. It is that place where she stepped onto free land and was like, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Now let me go back and get my friends and family. I've got a little bit of the journey left, but that journey is all about what I'm gonna do to take action, to be a cleaner, to be relentless, and to raise awareness about who she was, but also take action in my community with all the causes that I feel are important to me. If you've been following my journey and you've been inspired, I'm gonna ask that you take action. Green is a symbol of prosperity. I remember really feeling that thread in a way that I hadn't felt it when I purchased it from the store, that it was like wound together, that there were many pieces of it. It wasn't just like one piece of thread, but there were 4, 5, 10, 20 pieces of thread wound around each other. And in my head, I thought, wow, there's like a bonding here. And we wrap it around the neck. Not too tight. I gotta think about things being too tight. And then finally, because we want prosperity from head to toe, we take the green and we wrap it around the ankle. And I thought about where I was and what I was doing and what Harriet Tubman's role was during her time. It had everything to do with bringing people together. Let there be happiness, let there be compassion and tolerance for everyone, and let there be prosperity. So this is it. This means that I am just about completed with this part of the journey. I deserve a little shimmy. New Jersey ahead. Woo. I just crossed over from Philadelphia into New Jersey, and that Philly journey up until Philly was all about Harriet Tubman and everything she stood for. And the thing is that I think people, and even me, sometimes think very small about what she did. She was about freedom and about women's suffrage, the women's suffrage movement. But she was also about love and compassion and tolerance for one another. And so as I was walking over, I was thinking about, what's that highest feeling inside of us, and it's love. And so, touching down into New Jersey, what am I specifically going to do to help raise awareness about Harriet Tubman, but also just about her legacy? And the word just love kept coming up. And for me, it means loving people, things, causes, without inhibition, without pause, just loving fully and completely. And then the extension of that is doing everything in my power to make a difference. So, yeah, it's all about love, especially love of this peanut butter sandwich right now. And so it is. Done. 42.05. Who said you can't do something? You can do it. You can do it. 1 foot in front of the other. Go. That's it. I think the other thing to consider, right, if you all are already an action taker, I consider myself an action taker. I have been since I was really little, and serious and focused, that you could always refine yourself, right? You could always be better, stronger, more well-read, more experienced, wiser, right? So even if you've got it, you got your stuff together, you could always get it together more. You could always take more action in your life
and on the causes that make sense to you, whatever they are. So, you know, take my words as words of encouragement to me, but also to you, that taking action requires decision, focus, and then doing. So. I need to ramble. I'm thinking the book. I'm thinking about the book, Open Road. You guys know that book? It's about this guy and his son. They're trying to survive after the earth has been destroyed, I think, by disease that killed off just about everybody except a few people. Anyway, it's just them in the open road and a lot of silence. And they're under stress and duress. And it made me start thinking about what happens to the body, to the mind, when you're under duress. Do you crumble or do you keep going? I think the guy was, you know, keeping himself together for his son, so he had a reason. But when you don't have a child in front of you, what's the reason that you keep yourself together? I don't know. I think it comes from the inside. Internal strength, I think. Yeah. So I'm under duress. But I'm going. Bigger cause. I see it. What's your cause?
It is hot out there. My skin, I don't know if you can tell, but my shoulder's breaking out. It's actually happening all over my body. And this tan is like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's been only a couple days, but here I am. I'm still smiling. I'm not broken. I got some mosquito bites and some rubbery skin, and I'm not broken. And I'm gonna have a really good lunch. Mm-hmm. I got 20 more miles. One foot in front of the other. The guy at 7-Eleven gave me a free Gatorade.
Really?
Because he saw I was so thirsty.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. It's right. It's almost done.
8.3 more miles.
Oh my God. How long is that going to take? 2 hours. 2.5 hours. Right.
Well, good that he gave you like Gatorade and didn't let you like dehydrate.
Exactly, because I wouldn't have made it.
Oh my gosh.
I would not have made it. I don't know how they did it. Seriously. There must have been like wooded areas with creeks along the way. Because terrain doesn't change. Uphill is uphill. Downhill is downhill. And I don't care what time period, there was some uphill and downhill.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking it's one thing to do this one time. It's a whole nother thing to do it over and over and over again. You have to have some willpower and strength to decide, yes, I am going to do this again, regardless of the circumstances. Oh my gosh. Well, folks, I am in North Brunswick, only just a few miles away from home. Thank God. That's all I have to say about that. I still have Harriet Tubman flowing through my veins. Her legacy lives on. I've raised awareness. My family's here to support. It's a great thing. Even if it rained a little bit earlier. And I had to pull out the poncho and the umbrella on the highway. Exactly. They've been doing that for a mile. Oh my goodness. One more block. That's it. And my legs are not going to buckle, and my feet are not broken. I am not broken. Emotional. You did it. You did it. Amazing. Amazing. You were determined, and you did it. And everybody knows your pain. Oh my goodness.
Your baby over there. Which one? Right there. Which one? Back of you. Kim! I don't know how to take a picture with me.
I felt sad about separating. I really didn't want to separate. And I think it's because of how the whole concept of the walk developed when you introduced us.
I don't know if you realize that also for me, deciding like to separate was very difficult. When we got to the hotel, I think even before that, just watching the clock and looking at our time, I felt pretty anxious about that. I also feel compelled to do this thing. I have to do it.
And I'm definitely having to talk myself into this with every step. Thank God I'm doing this for a bigger cause. Thank God you guys are being more aware. The whole point was awareness. It's almost done.
I called 3 people, actually, for like emotional support. I got a chance to see the rigidity in my personality, right? Like I'm very, here is the plan, follow the plan. Don't deviate from the plan. Okay, you have to deviate from the plan, calm down, get yourself together, figure it out. But it has to happen. And so I was in a really not good place at that period of time. Like Harriet Tubman is revered by me, and so she's an amazing example of strength. Surely, if I just do this, then I'll at least feel better.
Mm-hmm. So with those thoughts, why did you feel you needed to do the walk with someone?
I also was looking at you and what you were going through with your mom, and I felt like you needed something.
In a way, you're right. Me dealing with my mom's passing and some other challenges that I was experiencing at the time, I wanted the opportunity, I wanted to give myself that space to process. I don't know if you remember, on my backpack, I had a butterfly brooch, and it was hers, it belonged to her. And as I was going through her stuff before the walk even became an idea, well, actually it was an idea, but before I started to physically prepare items for the walk, I put the brooch aside, and it was something I decided to affix to my backpack as a way to sort of carry her memory with me during the walk. I lost it halfway through the first day, because each time we took breaks, I threw my bag off. I practically laid on the side of the road, took my shoes off.
Kim, what are you doing?
Walker's yoga. I was desperate for each break. I could not drink enough. My feet were hurting. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand why I was feeling so stressed. I felt that I couldn't control it, couldn't get away from the heat. Wanted to walk faster, couldn't walk faster. Seeing carcasses on the side of the road and just like, man, they're out here like this and I'm out here like this. What am I doing out here like this? And so I lost the butterfly. But we would see butterflies along the way, and they were beautiful. They were beautiful butterflies, and some were dead along the side of the road, and some were flying. We saw butterflies on each segment of the walk. While the walk, I thought, would help me process her passing, I ended up just sort of carrying her with me, not as a dead weight, but the butterfly just, I think, let me know that everything's gonna work out, everything's gonna be okay. Because what are the chances that you'll see a butterfly from Maryland all the way to Canada? And we saw butterflies the whole way.
Divine Creator, we come before you with bowed heads and humble hearts. We are about to take a trek north to Manhattan in honor of Harriet Tubman.
So as you're being pulled into the Tubman whirlwind, because that's completely what I felt like
wow, uncover. What does your family say? How do they adjust to you now being immersed into, I need to go down to Dorchester County and find out more?
So when I started, my children were small, and I would work. I took over our dining room table, and for several years, the table was where the dissertation was happening. It was stacked with books and papers, and when, like, we had a holiday, I would take everything and put it under the table and put a tablecloth, and they would eat on the table. So everybody accommodated, you know, thank God, this person in our lives.
I was going to ask, what is amen in Hebrew? Is there amen? Okay. Yeah. All right then. Well, there we go.
got it.
How's
everyone feeling?
Great. Empowered. I love it. Right. Looking forward to the road ahead.
On the road again.
So the first portion of the journey took 5 days, and I walked somewhere between 14 and 16 hours, roughly between 30 and 42 miles a day. Second portion of the journey was done 1 month later, and that took place with a group of people, small group of people, and we traveled from New Jersey to New York City.
We have arrived. We're on the way. Challenge here, no walkway. We're having to move from one side of the street to the other to keep the situation safe. It's all good, making good timing.
This is our Corona model for the day. It's Friday, Fabulous Friday, and she's showing you how you feel after a Corona or two.
You see Mother Harriet staring at me, staring at you.
Because she's looking at you like, put that bottle down, girl. Put down the bottle.
Dark brown.
It's called Side of the Road Makeshift Stand Stretch Time something. Oh, by the way, people, I did actually lose that toenail, just in case you were wondering. It came off.
Talk a little bit about the journey thus far.
Oh man, we were actually just walking and it was very quiet and I was thinking about, I really can't complain about anything that I'm feeling right now. But the whole point of this is to experience what Harriet Tubman felt like when she was walking. So I'm doing pretty well considering everything that I have with me.
That's amazing. Thank you.
I'm feeling proud of myself. I'm feeling quite tired and ready to be in my bed for a little while.
So the journey is going to stop right here for you.
But she couldn't just decide, like, I'm not feeling up to it today. I'm going to turn around and go back.
That's a very valid point.
Like, people's lives were at stake.
Exactly, including hers. Yeah.
Thank you.
You should be proud of yourself.
I am.
I am. You too.
Yes. So this is the head I chose for the walk. We just took a break and woo, it's hot out here. So this is what I discovered. Stay the path, people. Stay the path.
Hey, we have arrived! We did it! Hey! Yes! Miss Talia joined us.
I feel great.
Yay.
This is something I never would have done before. I still can't believe I'm out here. My husband was like, you're going where to do what? When? Now?
Over the
I said, yes,
DW
that's right.
It's going down.
That's right.
Right in the name of Mother Harriet.
That's right. Right. Not scared of this anymore. And I had so many excuses for why I should not come out tonight.
Right.
But I was like, no.
Right.
If Mother Harriet can do it,
what?
So can I.
Exactly.
So quit the excuses. Let's get it popping.
It takes some action.
There you go.
Ha.
And now
Ha.
I know that I can do anything.
Can I just tell you how happy I am that we're on the train? And I'm so happy that Harriet Tubman had the insight to
to get on the train, because now we get to be on the train from Manhattan, 34th Street to Albany. We'll stay overnight, and then there's a special strawberry festival this weekend and at the new Heritage Center, and there's supposed to be a Harriet Tubman descendant there speaking. So I'm so beyond excited about that. I mean, like, never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would meet a Harriet Tubman descendant, but here we are. I'm going to try and contain myself and not plaster hugs all over her. So.
"21 years ago, there were a lot of people thinking about quilts and the Underground Railroad, but not many people were thinking in terms of what's the historical documentation that I can find that will help tell me what the story is. If we could bring these stories out to people, that people would begin to understand that as the story.
Yeah, no longer do we look at our abolitionists as people sitting in the front parlor, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for those freedom seekers to come to the front door. These are people who, Harriet took care of the children. She, conducted like instructional lessons with the kids. She and Stephen were very dedicated to the value of education. She's meeting with women in the community for their knitting circles and their sewing circles and organizing their bazaars, and yet she's welcoming freedom seekers in and attending to their needs because Stephen's not always here. And and then we've got Stephen working with these various civil rights groups, while working on Underground Railroad activism, but also going out and holding down a job because he is the breadwinner for the family. So all of these things started percolating, and it's really, again, it's delightful to share these things with people because they do start to realize these are people like me.
I think for me, I always, or have always, felt her sort of coursing through my veins. So my mentor actually really helped to raise me. We'd go to the Franklin Township Library, and I read every single book at the library on African American history, like for children. I can't remember exactly when Tubman became a thing for me. Maybe I was a young adult when I started actually honing in on it. Yeah, and sort of seeking her out.
What we would do to try to answer all these questions and really ground Tubman in a central and fixed place in our house stories was this exhibit, which was designed to be a series of parallel timelines that will eventually intersect on this convergence wall.
Wow.
And you can follow a series of difficult and momentous choices made by both sides, the Tubman and Seward families, and the choices they made. And there was a fraught and difficult choice with both sides seemingly having good reasons, like, for example, decision to leave, to go with Harriet Tubman, to be Harriet Tubman meant almost always leaving people behind when she would appear.
The Seward House is very significant for our history because it enabled Harriet to have a base, a place where she can do all of her activities, a place to call home, property. She could grow food. She could house fugitive slaves. She could hold meetings. She could strategize. That changed the game. That changed the game and made her a property owner, which I love. It's so amazing to me because here she was, a woman who was literally property, now a property owner, right? She has real estate. That's a serious asset for a woman, for anyone at that time to have 7 acres, but a woman, an African-American woman, and Seward was the channel for that. So that is significant and enabled her to do so many things to further the cause.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. I have a bit of a unique situation, and I'll give you the short version. So I'm driving along the road. I call the Heritage Center. There's a new Heritage Center in Auburn, and one of Harriet Tubman's descendants is going to be there today.
Oh, really? Oh, that's amazing.
I'm trying to contain my excitement, right? So I want to buy her something. This one says inspire. I love it. I'm definitely inspired.
Yeah.
Everything is possible. But I think the compass one,
is
yes,
one,
so
yeah.
appropriate.
The
description on the card is perfect.
Would you, could you wrap it for me?
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Sold. It's perfect. It's so perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for your story. You're so inspiring. It's amazing.
Let's see if we can inspire the world.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take some action.
Takes one
start
person.
a whole revolution. Next thing you know, you'll be doing tours of the whole.
That's the
amazing.
plan, right?
Yeah.
Take action.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Nice to meet you.
I'm literally gonna try not to cry. Like, I am gonna try not to shed a tear here. I'm gonna try not to shed a tear. That's the game plan.
Moses came and started out cold winter night. Hounds were baying in the full moonlight. We are going home.
I remember filling up with tears. It was like I was seeing my grandmother. It was like she was home.
We are going home. I can't stay down in slavery.
I couldn't have imagined interacting in any way with any of Harriet Tubman's descendants. This was another confirmation for me that I'm on the right path.
I can't stay down in slavery. I'm going to the promised land. I heard to have to go so quick.
I'm so happy to meet you. I come from a town that is Central Jersey. I own a gym, and part of what I do as just in my life is mobilize and motivate people physically, but then eventually mentally, emotionally. And so I have the town looking at me and what's happening, and I want them to know who you are and that you're around and that the energy of our great mother is still around and that we're not going to let outside things pull us back. We're moving forward. And so all of the things that are happening around us, they need to come to a stop. And we need to take some action, starting with our young people. So keep going. Keep going. With great direction. I hope you like your bracelet. Yeah, I brought a bracelet with a compass on it. I was like, yes, right? Like direction. We need direction. Yeah. So I want to make sure that I keep you notified of what I'm doing so that I am respectful in everything that I present. I went into this not wanting to make it murky or dirty in any way. And so we're going to keep this clean. We're going to stay connected to the family, right? We're going to tell the right story and mobilize the people, right? How about a group hug? Yay! Words cannot describe what I'm feeling right now. It feels like I was placed here at just the right time. I'm not sure what is going to roll out from this, right? I can't predict the future. But what I can say is that if you're ever in touch with what feels right, this felt like spot on. And I'm so grateful and so thankful to have had the opportunity to interact with the family, to pay homage to great woman, great mother, great nurturer. And I've been fighting back tears the entire time because I'm so moved. And I hope that the work that is being done will set the tone for something really awesome. I'm hopeful. So, yeah, so I just wanted to say that.
Girl, well, listen, Metra,
first conceived of this magnificent mission. Now, you might have had one concept of what might happen and what you're going to do, and then all of the other things that have happened, the people you have met, the people who wandered right into your studio, the people you have met on the road, the descendants of Harriet Tubman.
How do we find the plot?
Harriet Tubman.
Today is this is a defining moment. This is a defining moment. Today is what, July 20th, 2019?
Huge. Like huge. So I found out today that her favorite dessert were strawberries. So today was a strawberry festival. And they had that festival in honor of her. But it's so interesting that today is the day that they had something at the Heritage Center.
Whew. Everything is moving in your favor.
Yeah.
Everything.
For me, Harriet Tubman is a person that empowers me. I know I never met her and I'm not related to her, but to know her story and how she impacted the lives of so many other people and even the lives of people today, she embodies what it is to be courageous, to what it is to be a person of faith and have faith and walk in faith. And I appreciate that so much. And it encourages me to think of her and remember her journey.
So this is something I knew as a child. I didn't understand the power of this story until I got a lot older, and then also, being around peers that didn't have a sense of roots or foundation. They didn't have the same sense of surety that I did. The bridge was constructed in 1847. It allowed people to walk across or catch a carriage across. It was 50 cents per person. And then by 1855, this bridge began to carry the train at the top that you saw Harriet Tubman on.
Oh, wow.
Right? Keep in mind that during that time, there were no customs. So this train, if you jumped on this train in New York City or Rochester, by virtue of simply riding this train, it would take you clearly across the Canadian side. Right? You learn about resilience in these stories because you see the obstacles and the challenges that people were literally able to overcome. And then you also see that there was something that was beyond a human capacity that gave them the ability to overcome a lot of those challenges and obstacles. So you see resilience, but then you also see that infinite potential or possibilities. It wasn't a question of can I or can't I, it is how do I need to do it and setting a timeline of when I wanted to get it done. There was no question or doubt or anything.
The first part of the journey, walking from her house, for me was the most moving, right? This part, I've got mixed emotions. Part of me is excited because they're right there, she's right there.
It's also really interesting how much our mind plays into what we can accomplish, right? So walking from Kinetics to the George Washington Bridge, had I done it alone, it may have taken me longer, because it was very humid that day, and then once we got to the hills, but we were with a group, and I was of the mindset that got to get this done today, can't split this up, so I was able to do it. So I think even just how I realized how much power the mind has in terms of your ability to do something.
Yes.
It's all here.
Yeah,
right?
that's also something that I've learned a lot about myself. It's Canada. Over there.
You said all those buildings. Kim, what is that?
Canada.
That is definitely
not. That is definitely not Canada.
Get your passport out.
Wait, it's so. I need you to stop making things up.
It's Canada.
She doesn't like to be wrong. I feel excited. Canada's right here.
What's that? What's that?
Freedom! Right over the bridge. Hey, we're going. Just that way.
All right.
I got my passport. I did not forget my passport. And here we go.
My family's been going through the immigration process for like upwards of 14-15 years at this point, and there was a part of the tour where he said that the all you had to do was pay the toll, like pay the 50-cent toll to get through to the bridge, and they were like home free basically. So we met with the immigration officer yesterday who was doing our interview for the green card, and that would have been it. Like that would have been the final push, but for whatever reason there was some type of paperwork missing, some supplement to whatever it is. I don't know all the legal jargon, but basically it would fix everything, but it's a very expensive form, and there's 4 of us. So it's like, imagine having to save up for those like those like 50 cents, and that would be it. And it would be done. And so it just reminded me of that.
We're in Canada, on our way to St. Catharines. We've got probably 2 hours or so. So far, so good. I like the peace of this street. When you cross over from the border, it's a bit hectic and touristy. This is quiet and peaceful.
What are you doing right now?
Oh, my feet hurt so bad. I feel like I got the author.
Oh my goodness.
My feet.
Well, here's the good news. We only have like an hour left.
I know. Praise Jesus. I hope the church is open so I can lay on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
We made it. And it's everything I expected it to be. And I'm so grateful, and I feel so full and moved and blessed and inspired.
No question about that. So I had read that Harriet Tubman arrived here in 1851.
Yes.
And so she helped to bring this church into existence.
She would have been here when the church was under construction, as well as her brothers, who she brought in 1854. So yes.
So is it known at the peak of boarding how many people were
staying in that home? At any given time? No. Okay. So we do know that she was there, of course, as well as her parents, so that makes 3. But how many others? We don't know, because she was sheltering so many. Those that she guided here, and then, of course, people that just needed a place to stay.
As we walked from the border, Niagara Falls, U.S. side, into Canada, and walked here, when I stepped foot here, I felt so full and so moved to be in a place where she once was. Even after all of these years, her spirit and energy are still alive and kicking and so relevant.
She touched everyone. She always gave back. She was never looking for anything for herself. Wow. She was selfless, but she was also the mighty Moses. Harriet Tubman loved the Lord. We know that. She communicated with Jesus on a daily basis. Right. But you know what? She'd have shot you dead in the name of Jesus Christ, because she said, no one will take me back alive. So a local artist, Frank Recruit, who's now in Florence, Italy, he did the statue. Yeah. So the bust, but the marble base, yes, was donated by a Confederate descendant. Wow. Anonymously. She wanted to give back. Yeah. Wow. So that's how we have the marble base.
Do you find it interesting that there is so much energy around the Tubman story at this moment in time?
Yes.
I also find it interesting. Yes. What do you find interesting about it?
As we elevate her as a freedom fighter, we have all this madness going on around us on a global level of white nationalism. So eventually the two are going to collide, because there's too many people that love Tubman, the Underground Railroad, and the heroes and sheroes of the Underground Railroad, whether they be black or white. People get that. What's foreign is the white nationalism. Like, I'm here pretty much every day, and I thank God that I have the ability to do what I do, to even have the movement and to honor my ancestors. And just to come out here, like, I give thanks every day for allowing me to be the individual that can stand guard over my ancestors' narratives. Wow. So I'm talking
just the works that she did, the love for her people, the constantly going back to pull one. I mean, that's relevant today. You have to, with all what's going on in the world, you have to always reach back and grab somebody, bring somebody, help someone. And to do that, you just gotta keep striving. And just always remember, you didn't get here alone.
Well, the short story is I decided to be part of this documentary because Metra told me that I needed to be. That's one, right? The longer answer is that, to be honest, I didn't have a good reason other than the fact that it was work. That was the first thing. But as it went along, it became more clear. As we took the journey and as I worked on it, it became more clear how important this kind of work is. Not just for me, or right, personally, yes, for me, but also just in general for a lot of people. And I didn't see it for the longest time. It's been heavy because I didn't realize how big, how important, and how relevant it would be. Being not white or black, you kind of get left out of that kind of conversation a lot of the time. So you don't really fully understand, at least for me personally, right? Like I didn't really fully understand what the problems were. And to learn about it in school, in public school, it doesn't do it justice. It doesn't give you the it doesn't give you the information of how everyone experiences what is happening. And it wasn't until I did this, and it wasn't until 2020 that it was like, okay, like, it's a thing. We're all just people. Like, we're humans who have experiences and feelings and just want to live the best life that we can.
I think right now, in the times that we're in, kind of having more awareness on who Harriet was and just everything that surrounded her, her journey, what came out of her and her journey is so crucial and so important, not only to my generation, but to everyone.
It's relevant because to me, Harriet Tubman is a study in leadership, perseverance, strategy, and clarity of vision. When she states, "Give me liberty or death," she was clear and she was committed to that. And I believe that her clarity of purpose is what caused all of these different things to align for her to successfully do her missions again and again and again. So whenever there's a time in my life, I personally refer to her. Anytime I'm feeling like I get clear on the vision, don't stop and move forward.
Knowing your history is important. Knowing where you came from is important because it actually sets you up for the life we're in, right? If you don't know what happened before, then you don't really respect where you're at now, right? So it's almost like you need to know what happened before to even understand what's happening today.
The Harriet Tubman journey gives me hope for what is possible. It gives us hope as a people, I believe, because it kind of puts it back in our face again of how great we are, what we've accomplished with so little, and we have so much at our disposal now. What can we do that's even bigger and better?
So we've done a lot this summer. So the real question is, what are we going to need to do to continue to grow for the rest of the year and then the years to come? What do you think? I don't know.
I think some growth comes in putting a documentary together because you're reliving the experience and reflecting later, which I think will bring more thoughts, more emotions.
So basically what you're saying is that this is just the beginning.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.